Oh, hi. In Shop 38, I'm known as that one girl who always has snacks in her pockets, but here I'm just Heather from Heather's Happy Handwork Hideaway. A famous knitter named Elizabeth Zimmerman once said, "Knit on with confidence and hope through all crises." And she was right. That advice has actually gotten me through a lot of life's crises for over 20 years. And it's taught me a lot of skills, as well as teaching me to be creative, organized, and patient. Knitting is not just a expression of creativity through the act itself, but it's taught me to be creative on a budget. Sometimes the price of yarns is out of my reach. Sometimes they're just not available to me in my area. I've had to work within those constraints and make something beautiful out of what I have. It's helped me to be a little bit more bold with color in my wardrobe, and there's nothing I like better than wearing a bright red hat on a gray winter day. And I also like to work with themes when I knit. For instance, if someone wants a pair of socks and the color they want is a nice, beautiful spring green, I'll choose a pattern that makes me think of flowers or those first buds of springtime. Knitting has also helped me to be organized in a very strange way, and it's quite similar when I set up for knitting. It's quite similar to when I set up for a job in the shipyard. First, I think of paper. What pattern do I need? This is one of my favorite books. It's about knitting socks, and there's patterns for all kinds of different things, and they come in all kinds of different forms. And I just have to know what I'm dealing with. I have to read through it, see what I need, see what I'm going to have to be doing, and make sure I understand my charts or in the instructions. People, well, that's me. um, Everyone has their own style of knitting, and every culture that knits, and there's a lot more than you'd think there would be. But they all have their own different styles. So I just had to find a style that worked for me and went with it. And then it was just a matter of practice from that point. Then there's your parts. Knitting is very simple. It's just sticks and string, but what kind of sticks? What kind of string? I mean, you can use double pointed needles to make socks or mittens, or if you're going to make a scarf, maybe just some straight needles. Or maybe, well, that's not a knitting needle. Maybe if you want to make a shawl, you need a long, curly, circular needle. It all depends on what you want to do. You need some other tools too, maybe a tape measure, something to make sure you're getting the right stitches per inch. Pair of scissors. My dog got hold of that one. But having them close by really helps you be more efficient. Then you got to find the right place. I like this chair. I can prop up my arms. It keeps me nice and straight so I don't hunch over as much, which is helpful when we think about prevention. Knitting will give you arthritis if you do it too long, trust me. So you got to stop frequently, stretch your hands, get up and walk around, get a cup of tea, so your back and your shoulders don't cramp up too much. Take a break from things. And post work, this is going to sound strange, but you have to learn to read your knitting, especially if you're doing something complex like making something lacy or making something with lots of colors or making something with lots of cables, like a sweater or pair of socks that have lots of cables. You have to know what you did before in order to see what you're going to do next so that you do it right so it looks good. Knitting has also taught patience. When I learned to read my knitting, I sometimes realize that I made a mistake somewhere, and it has to come out. You have to be patient with yourself in those moments, especially when it comes to something like lace and color and cable. It's taught me a lot about construction and how things are constructed, how your body works together. And I make a lot of socks, so you realize that all feet are different, and you have to work within those constraints. And it can try your patience a little bit. Sometimes you get some difficult models as well. I once made a sweater for my dog. He did not like the fitting process at all. I even made a sweater for my dad once when he lived halfway across the country. So I knit part of it, sent it to him, have him try it on, and he sent it back telling me what needed to change. You have to trust the process. You have to trust yourself within the process. A lot of people tell me that they don't have the patience to knit. I didn't either, but it taught me how to be patient. It taught me how to be creative and how to be organized. And those are skills that I carried on through other aspects of my life. And it even opened up other hobbies for me. A lot of stuff that I do with my hands. A lot of ways for me to be creative in a very unique way. My advice to new knitters is to not start with what everyone thinks you should start with, which is a basic scarf. That's boring. You should start with something that you want to make, something that might challenge you a little. See what you can do to change it, see what you can do to make it yours. That way, you're really making something that you can be proud of, even if it's a first project and you're going to hate it in 5 years. It's something that you've done, it's something that's challenged you, it's something that allowed you to be creative, helped you to be organized, and maybe made you a little bit more patient.